Hello, everyone. I'm not sure why we are repeating this mostly. We talked about exercise on Shabbat and riding a bicycle and other kinds of sports. But I guess in the context of a cholesh she'eno mesukan, a non-dangerously ill person, the Rabbi Melamed adds this because we were talking about medicine. So. On Shabbat, one may perform therapeutic treatments that are not normally done with the aid of medications. Since there is no concern that one will come to grind ingredients, such treatment is not included in the prohibition of medicine on Shabbat. However, if there is no real need, even such treatment is prohibited because it is a weekday activity. If you remember, we learned the verses in Yeshayahu that we read, I thought, on um, Shabbat Rosh Chodesh, but it's not. It's the reading for um, one of the other Haftarot. Anyway, it says that we shouldn't do things on Shabbat that are regular weekday activities because that way we basically minimize the sanctity of Shabbat. But as long as a real need exists, for example, when one is in pain, it is permissible. So, therefore, one may apply pressure to an injury with a utensil or his hand to prevent swelling, and also heat or cold, ice, as this is a type of therapeutic action that is not normally done with medications. Chaye Adam was I believe he lived at the same time as the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch of Ganzfried, and so they just have slightly different approaches to halacha. Similarly, one may apply ice to an injury in order to prevent swelling and reduce the pain, because this is not normally done with medicine. If one's eyes hurt, he may do eye exercises on Shabbat. I never heard of this, but I will tell you a very funny story from the army, because there is no medication that substitutes this kind of exercise. If one's eyes do not hurt, but he wants to strengthen the eye muscles, the exercises have the same status as physical therapy exercises. If one needs to do them several times daily, one may do them on Shabbat as well. So in the Israeli army and the IDF, Tzahal, there's something called Bet and Gimel. So if somebody gets Gimel, it means like the third letter. It means that they are completely exempt from doing any kind of service because they are so ill that they are either in the infirmary or at home or in the hospital. So that's Gimelim, and it's rather difficult to get Gimelim because some people try to do it just because they're lazy and not because they really are in such danger. But the mediocre is called betim, which means you are exempt from certain activities, but you still have to participate, for example, in classes. And so one of our friends in the army, he was able to convince the paramedic that he is in so much pain in every part of his body that he can't do any running or even push-ups or chin-ups or anything like that. And so he's standing there when we were all in roll, and we're all running around like crazy. And he's standing there, and the commander says, what's with you?" He says, "Here." He produces a piece of paper that he doesn't have to do any kind of exercise because of the sun bothers him, and the heat and the running and everything else. So the commander said to him, "For the next 15 minutes, you're going to close and open your eyes, like." And that was that was his exercise for the day. So it's just funny that there is such a thing. I just never heard about it until then. So, and also one may place an orthodontic retainer in one's mouth on Shabbat, as no medication can straighten one's teeth. One who has a stomach ache or an earache may place a hot water bottle on the affected area to relieve their pain. And ice may also be used to relieve pain, and we're not worried about the melting of the ice because if you remember when we talked about bishul, we're not going to use this water. We're just going to throw it out. So we're not melting the ice for the purpose of drinking the water. One who has an earache may also put cotton in their ears. This is not considered medicinal since it does not heal the ear, but simply protects it from the wind. One who wishes to soothe their throat may swallow a raw egg. My grandfather called it gogol mogol. As this is not considered a medicinal act, one may put talcum powder, which is like baby powder, into one's shoes to absorb sweat and foot odor or to soothe their feet. However, one who has athlete's foot may not put medicated powder in their shoes. If they are in pain, though, they may, again, because it's already pre-ground. And let's do one more halacha and finish the chapter with that. So physical therapy again goes back to the idea of epiktozin b'Shabbat, which we said has many different translations, but one of them is massage and the other is physical therapy. So physical therapy exercises are often meant to restore function to the limbs or muscles that have atrophied as a result of injury or paralysis. If it is not strictly necessary to do the exercise on Shabbat, one should not do them then because this is a weekday activity. For example, if one is not always careful to do the exercises regularly during the week, and I would say that it's mostly because of laziness, one may not do them on Shabbat, even if no equipment is used, since these exercises are undertaken with professional guidance, they are considered a weekday activity, and one should instead exercise on Friday before Shabbat begins and on Saturday night after Shabbat ends. That way it's still daily, just not at that time. However, if the exercises are needed indeed for the patient, and during the week they take care to do so several times a day, they may do them on Shabbat as well. One may even use equipment as long as it does not require electricity to operate. These exercises have the same status as pills that must be taken for several consecutive days, and one may take them on Shabbat as well. So we'll stop here, and we now finish the 20th chapter. Next chapter, which will start tomorrow, is about Eruvin, about not specifically about carrying in a domain, because we already did that, but also the idea of how far we're allowed to walk from our domain, from our place.